Hi y'all, today we are going to be talking about keywords for Amazon self-published novels and how you can best optimize yours. So for those of you who missed the intro video, we are treating book marketing as if it is a poorly illustrated table. Each of the four legs of the table represent the bare basics of book marketing that you need to have working for you and have pulling their own weight before you can move on to more advanced marketing techniques. Obviously today is all about keywords, and I'm going to be using my own book as an example because I still have all my notes of the process I went through with all the keywords and how I went about selecting the ones that would best work for my book. So keywords are the very first thing that could possibly draw a customer to your book. And the whole point of optimizing them is in order to get exactly the sort of customers who are already looking for your book. That reduces so much of the work you need to put into this, because if people are already looking for a book like yours, then they've already got their wallet out, as it were, and they're already ready to pay money to have this book experience that is very similar to the book you wrote. So by all means, try and get these people. It's not so much that there are tricks to optimizing your keywords, it's just that it takes some due diligence and it does take some time. So we're going to go through step by step. Now, when I was researching my keywords and I did my keywords, it was over probably a 2-week period. I'm not saying the whole 2 weeks was dedicated to the keyword search, but I like to be able to think about, the sorts of keywords I want and jot them down, think about it, come back to it, kind of, search and do research as I can while I'm doing other things. So I don't recommend you try to do it all in one day, not because there's so much work you couldn't get it done in a day. It probably only represents a few hours in total of work, but you really want to spend some time and make sure you've explored every possible avenue that people could use to find your book. So the way I start out keywords is a word vomit. Basically take your trusty notebook that all us writers have and write down every single word that you can think of that describes your book and that someone would be searching for in order to find your book. So my book is a fantasy. It's a young adult fantasy. And this is my lighting sucks. And this is my word vomit for, it's a dragon shifter, reverse harem, young adult fantasy. All right. And this is my word vomit. And this was compiled over probably about 2 weeks. And as I researched each of the keywords, I crossed them off so that, I wouldn't forget what I'd done. But basically, the sorts of things you want to jot down as keywords are going to be things like the tropes that are used in your book. Every book uses tropes, and you should be using tropes, and a lot of people enjoy certain tropes. And as much flack as tropes get on the internet, and particularly on, top 10 tropes I hate lists and things like that, people really love certain tropes and they search for those tropes. And so you should absolutely figure out what sort of tropes you use in your book and jot those down in your word vomit page. So for me, The Last Dragon Princess, it's a coming of age story. It uses the hero's journey. It uses Greek mythology. There's a lot of political intrigue. There's a strong female lead, and it's a reverse harem. The genre is also very important. People search for genre all the time. You need to figure out exactly what your genre is. And this can be difficult for a lot of writers, so you may want to ask some of your beta readers if you're not entirely sure. I can't tell you how many, particularly first-time writers, think that they've invented something new or they've done some awesome genre-bending thing that has never been done before. It's been done before. Okay, I'm just telling you now, you haven't done anything. It fits a genre. You just got to figure out what it is. If you've got a magic system, it's fantasy. If it's based on hard science, it's science fiction. If it's a mixture of these two, then there's probably a heavier side on one of them. If you don't know, ask one of your beta readers. Mine is a YA fantasy romance. There is a heavy romantic subplot. Some of my reviewers have said it's like a lighter on the romance. Others have said it's up to half the book. I'm more of the opinion it's toward the heavier end of that, so I call it a YA fantasy romance. And for the most part, people agree with me on that. It's also an epic fantasy because it does take place on another planet. Paranormal is... I played around with this word for a while. It's paranormal is normally attributed to stories that have shifters in it, and I have dragon shifters in my story, so I threw that one in. That was one of the words that popped up after I'd done some research and I saw what other books similar to mine were being described as. Specialized characters, that's another big one. So if you're writing a Western, then you've probably got a sheriff, that sort of thing. I have dragons and I have shifters. I have people who turn into dragons. Those are my specialized characters. People search for these heavily, so you want to definitely figure out what sort of specialized characters you have in your book. Other is for random things you're going to think of and you're probably not going to use, but it might be helpful to fill in the gaps later on. So by all means, jot them down, research them, see where they take you. For mine, there is a heavy science fiction element in the fantasy book, so I wanted to research fantasy science fictions to see how they were best described. My book has a caste system, and I also wanted to explore fairy tale retellings to see if that would fit. So once you have your word vomit and you're ready to start researching these keywords, you need to start looking at two things in your research. You need to start looking at popularity and how much competition is going on for those words. And you also need to look at applicable that keyword is to your book in the greater context of how people are searching. And what I mean by that is, for instance, my book is a reverse harem, and it fits the classic definition of a reverse harem because I have one female protagonist and many male suitors. However, in my research, I learned that people who are searching for reverse harem novels are looking for erotica novels. And my book is a young adult. It's very much a PG-13. It does not fit what people are searching for when they are searching for a reverse harem. So that would not be the best keyword for me to use. I think I did end up using it because I needed some space filled, but it was very low on the priority list for that very reason. Even though a lot of people are searching for reverse harems, and it's a very popular search term, my book doesn't fit with what those people are hoping to find. So that's what I mean when I say how applicable it is to your book. So there are two places you're going to want to search for your key terms here. And I like using Google. One way, if you're finding yourself stuck on what sort of keywords to use Google and use your Amazon, use your, what's it called, the suggested results. So if I put dragon in here, it's going to come up with a bunch of suggestions, right? And these are things that people are already searching for. So this is an excellent resource in order to brainstorm new keywords that might fit, because these are already popular search terms. So if I start typing in dragon shifter romance, okay, that's a very popular search then, because that's popping #1. So I'm going to jot down dragon shifter romance, and I'm going to jot dragon shifter romance in exactly that order. Okay, those 3 words, all one order. That's a great search term because that fits my book. So dragon shifter reverse harem, that's another popular one that would fit my book. Dragon Shifter series, that doesn't work because mine's a standalone. All right, so Dragon Shifter, and we'll go further. Dragon Shifter romance story. No, okay, so none of these are actually helping further. In keywords, you want to be as specific as possible. And for a quirk of Amazon KDP and Amazon ebook keyword positioning that I'll show you later, you kind of want to string out your phrases. So you want to put one keyword in front of the other to make a sentence that people would likely be searching for. You don't just want to put dragons as a keyword. That's a very bad idea because you're going to be searching for you're going to be competing with every other book that has the word dragon in it. So you want to get this down as specific as possible to your book that people are still searching for in order to minimize the competition. All right. Anytime you're working on an internet environment, in an internet search, broad is the enemy. You want to be specific because, and this is somewhat counterintuitive, a lot of people think they want to go broad in order to bring in as many people as possible. And this is a carryover from your marketing 101 of the olden days when you had a brick and mortar store. And of course, you don't want to be super eclectic if you've got a brick and mortar store. You want to be buy me beige. You want to bring in as many people and appeal to as many people as possible. But this is not a brick and mortar. This is not a restricted number of people within a certain geographic location. This is the entire planet. This is the internet. This is anyone with an internet connection is there and you're competing for their attention. That means you're not going to be able to compete with the word dragon. You need to be able to work with Dragon Shifter romance. You need to really narrow down the pool of people whose attention you're vying for. So having said that, you want to go through and brainstorm all of these different ideas. So political intrigue books, political intrigue fantasy. That's a good one. So I'm going to jot that one down, political intrigue fantasy. And that's not as good as Dragon Shifter romance, but it's still clearly being searched for. So I'm going to jot that down and go through this for everything. Spend some time on this, brainstorm, and figure out in what order all of these keywords are being typed in by other people, and keep track of what order those are in. We're going to use it later. So after we're done with Google, I like to go to Amazon. Amazon is technically even better than Google. Google might give you more ideas, but Amazon search, I don't even know what this is called, just search assumptions, search recommendation, whatever. This is people who are already on Amazon searching for stuff. So this is your audience and you get to see what they're searching for. So we'll do the same thing. Dragon Love Tacos. That's a great book. My kids love that book. Dragon Shifter romance. Again, really big. Dragon Shifter romance free Kindle books. Mine's on Kindle Unlimited, so that works. I don't think I ended up using that. Books. Amazon keywords, they don't like you to use really generalized term like books, so we're going to ignore that one. But again, so not only Dragon Shifter romance, but okay, so of the top 4 recommended, Dragon Shifter romance, Dragon Shifter romance is a really good key phrase to use. All right. And we would also use political intrigue, which I can't spell. That's all right. I'll just edit all this out. Political intrigue novels. Okay, so that's not really helpful there. Greek mythology. I'm a novelist. That doesn't mean I can spell. I have an editor for that. Okay, so as an example, this is another one I researched, Greek mythology for teens. My book utilizes a lot of Greek mythology. It's also a young adult. So Greek mythology for teens or Greek mythology books for teens was one of the keywords that I researched. But again, I found if you then search for this, which we're going to do now, you find more nonfiction. Okay. So, I mean, we get Percy Jackson, of course, but good luck doing a search that doesn't come up with Percy Jackson. So this is more nonfiction. I have that book. So again, even though it technically fit for my book, it's not the sort of thing that people are looking for when they're searching for that. So you kind of have to get into the head of a searcher for a little bit, and that's just not how people are searching for fiction YA Dragon Shifter romance books, as it were. So that wasn't the best keyword for me to use, even though it technically fit. So after we've done a little bit of this, we need to start looking at popularity and competition. So, Dragon Shifter romance. What have we got? Okay, so we got a sponsor. I'm going to go past the sponsored ones. And all right, so this is a series. This looks like a standard adventure YA sort of thing. And when I say popularity, what I mean is you want to click on like the few top results. Ignore the sponsored ones, those come and go. But the few top results, go down to product details here. And under Amazon's bestseller rank, anything in the first 10,000 paid in Kindle store, that means you've got some good keywords going on there. Those are some high ranking books, and those are the sorts of keywords you want to have. All right. So, and clearly this has Dragon Shifter Romance in its keyword slot, or it wouldn't have popped up so high without it. But so this is good. If you start finding, this means that, so in the top 10,000 of Amazon paid, that means it's a very high quality, high value keyword. So Dragon Shifter Romance, that's going at the top of my list at, 2,000 KDP sales. What this is telling me is that Dragon Shifter Romance is a much more searched for and bought keyword than Coming of Age Fantasy. Coming of Age Fantasy is still good. Strong female lead, strong female protagonist. All right. And this is the first one that pops up. So this is a high priority keyword for them. And yeah, when you start seeing the first 3 books or so drop down to this for the keywords you're searching for, that's telling you it's not a very valuable keyword. So obviously it popped up number 1 for people who are searching for it, and not many people are buying it. Okay, that doesn't mean it doesn't fit the book. That doesn't mean it's not something that's usable, but this should be a much lower priority. So if you have, we're trying to maximize the amount of space. Kindle or Amazon only gives you a limited amount of space to put keywords. So we're trying to maximize the most valuable keywords we can get in that space. So when you're doing your priority list for keywords and key phrases, this one's going to be much, much lower than your Dragon Shifter Romance keyword that we looked at earlier. That's what that means. Well, this looks cool. I like that cover. This looks interesting. Okay, anyway, yeah, down to 60,000 here. So this is how you're going to make your triage list, as it were. And you're going to go through, you're going to spend some time doing this, and exactly what I did. And I eventually went down and I narrowed down the key phrases I want in the order I wanted them in. And then we get to the fun part. Now, KDP, if you go into your bookshelf and you pick either your paperback or your Kindle book and you go into Edit eBook Details, this is where you're going to be putting your keywords. So underneath your description are your keywords. Now, Amazon gives you 7 slots and you get 50 characters per slot. That includes spaces. So these are the keywords I ended up going with after all of my research. And you want to string as many of these keywords together still within the order that you researched them in, and you researched that people were searching those keywords in. But you still want to string them together. So Dragon Shifter Romance really only represents about half of the 50 characters I want to fill these up. And you want to fill up as much as you can and get as much use out of this space as you can. Now, Dragon Shifter Romance doesn't have to be the only thing in that slot. You can string together some more stuff and try to get it down more and more. So this is what I ended up going with. And this is just a matter of trial and error and doing as much research on these keywords as you can in order to just try to optimize this for what people are actually searching for and the sorts of books that they're searching for when they use those keywords. So you want those two to fit together as much as you can. One thing I will say that you don't want to do is you want to avoid things like themes in your keywords. So I was once doing some consulting for a first-time indie author, and he kept insisting that his genre was the fight against good and evil. And I kept insisting that, no, your genre is a Western. Your theme is fight against good and evil. No one searches for themes. Themes are themes and metaphors, things like that. These are things that should add depth to your book that a reader should discover. But no one goes searching for the theme of a book unless they're the parent looking for not even a theme, but a lesson for a book for their kid. And that's a different market that you're looking for. So if you're writing a kid's book about why they should clean up their messy room, then, by all means do that, because parents might be searching for that. But if you're writing a novel, particularly for a YA or an adult audience, avoid that sort of thing. No one's going to search for that. Also, you'll notice that things like the caste system, that didn't make it into my keywords. I didn't have the space for it, and there were not enough people searching for it. And as I recall, anyone searching for a caste system was looking for more of a history book or a sociology book, not a young adult fantasy novel. So you really have to be ruthless about this. And I did have some space left over, and so I used some of my lower priority words like the strong female lead. I ended up using that. So Greek mythology, sword and sorcery. This was a lower priority, but I still used it. This is what you go with. And I believe that, I went through and I counted each of the phrases I had. So this one had 46 characters with spaces. This one had 31 characters. This one had 27 characters. So I went through and very, very meticulously tried to maximize that 50 character space that each of the 7 slots gave me. So it became like a little puzzle that you got to put together and just try to optimize it as much as you can. And that is what keyword optimization is. It's very fiddly research. And that's it. That's all of the mystery. So that's all from me today. I hope you have found this video informative and useful, and if so, please hit that like button and leave me a comment. I always love to hear from y'all. I believe next part 3 of this is going to be book covers, and then we'll be dealing with book blurb descriptions and book reviews. So hit that subscribe button if you want to see all that and you want to stick around. And until then, bye-bye.